Hello everyone. So our today's topic of discussion is the second lecture on questions on probability. This is the fourth video of the chapter probability. In the first two, we'll discuss the basics of probability, like what exactly is probability, how do we calculate it. Then we also discuss like three cases. One is that of a flipping of a coin, second is rolling of a dice, and third one is that of playing cards. Okay. And we also discussed that the probability that is there in our course is basically only the basic probability, for which we all know the formula, that is probability of any event is equal to number of favorable outcomes divided by total number of outcomes. We don't have any conditional probability, we don't have any Bayes theorem, nothing is there. Then in the third video we'll discuss 10 questions, right? The different type of questions that you can expect in the exam, which will also clear your basics. Now in this video we'll be taking it forward and we'll be starting with question number 11. Okay. So if this is the first video on probability that you're watching, then I would suggest you to please have a look at the first two videos at least. That is the basic part of probability, and then come back to this video. Okay. So let's begin and let's start with question number 11. So you're gonna pause the video and you're gonna try the question yourself first. Then you're gonna play back the video and understand how it is to be solved. So pause the video and try this question, please. Alright, let's see what we can do with this one. From a list of 85 consecutive odd integers, the probability of selecting a number less than 50 is 11 by 17. Find the greatest number of the sequence. So what they have done in this question is that they have given us the probability instead of giving us a case. They have given us the probability. Usually we have to calculate the probability. In this case, the probability is given to us. So what is it's basically saying that we have 85 consecutive odd integers. So I'm gonna have integers like 49, 51, 53, and so on and so forth. And you're gonna have 47, 45, and so on and so forth. Now I intentionally started with 49. I intentionally started with 49 for the fact that it's given that selecting a number less than 50. So 50 will be exactly in between 49 and 51. So I thought let's start with 49. Let's go to the left of 49 and then let's go to the right of 49. I'm going to start with 49. I'll go to the left of 49. Then I'll also go to the right of 49. Okay. Now I have a total of 85 consecutive odd integers, and probability of selecting a number less than 50. Probability of selecting a number less than 50 is 11 by 17. So let's suppose I have x odd integers. I have x odd integers less than 50. If I have x odd integers less than 50, then can I say x divided by 85 will be equal to 11 by 17? Yes or no? Because it says that the probability of selecting a number less than 50 is 11 by 17. So I am having x numbers, x odd numbers or x odd integers less than 50. So my favorable outcomes are x and my total number of outcomes are 85 because there are 85 consecutive odd integers. So x by 85 will be equal to 11 by 17, which will give you x is equal to 55. Which will give you x is equal to 55. So there are basically 55 odd integers less than 50. Or in other terms, if I may put it in this way, only if I'm gonna have 55 odd integers less than 50, then my probability will be 11 by 70. Okay, so this number is 55. That means number of odd integers greater than 50 will be 85 minus 55, and that's 30. And that's 30. So now you need to calculate the greatest number of the sequence. So you're starting with 51. So you can say that this is basic. This will become an arithmetic progression because you have 51, 53, 55, 57, 59. You have a common difference of 2. You're starting with 51, you have a common difference of 2 and your number of terms is 30. You can calculate A sub n, that is equal to A plus n minus 1 into D, which will simply become 51 plus 29 into 2. This is 51 plus 58, which will give you an answer as 109. Which will give you your answer as 109. So the greatest number of the sequence is 109. So the only difference in this question is that we are going exactly the opposite. Generally, we have to find the probability. In this case, the probability was given. So again, probability of any event is equal to favorable outcomes divided by total number of outcomes. We have only that one formula, nothing else is there. So we use that formula and accordingly we have calculated our answer. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so pause the video and try this question please. Alright, let's see what we can do with this one. So it says that Roy plans to order a birthday gift for his friend from an online retailer. However, the birthday coincides with a festival during which there is a huge demand for buying online goods and hence deliveries are often delayed. He estimates that the probability of receiving the gift in time from the retailers P, Q, R and S would be 0.6, 0.7, 0.8 and 0.9 respectively. Playing safe, he orders from all 4 retailers simultaneously. What would be the probability that his friend would receive the gift from at least one retailer? Alright. So probability that he will receive the gift from retailer P is 0.6. He will receive it from Q, that probability is 0.7. He will receive it from R, that probability is 0.8. And he will receive it from S, that probability is 0.9. So let's calculate the probability of not receiving a gift from a retailer. So P, probability of not receiving it from P will be 0.4. Not receiving it from Q will be 0.3. Not receiving it from R will be 0.2. And not receiving from S will be 0.1. Again, this is what it's going to be. Now the question that we have taken up in this, it's an easy question because it says what would be the probability that his friend would receive the gift from at least one retailer. So at least one basically means one or more than one. So like what can be the possible condition? First of all, let's try and analyze that. The possible conditions can be either the friend is going to receive the gift from no retailer, or from one retailer, or from two retailers, or from three retailers, or from all the four retailers. These are the only things that can happen, nothing else can happen. And the probability of all these cases will sum up to 1. Probability of all these cases will sum up to 1. Now the question is, what would be the probability that his friend would receive the gift from at least one retailer? Now you want at least one retailer, that means you want all these cases. So rather than calculating them individually, why can't I do it this way? That probability for at least one is 1 minus probability selecting from none. Is 1 minus probability that none of the retailers would be able to deliver the package or the gift basically. So I can simply do it in this way. This will become 1 minus 0.4 into 0.3 into 0.2 into 0.1. Because if I want none of them to deliver the package or to deliver the gift, I want PP dash, PQ dash, PR dash and PS dash. I want all of them. I simply have to multiply. So 4, 3, 12, 12 to 24 and 4 zeros, 4 decimal places before that, 1 minus 0.0024. Your answer will become 0.9976. Your answer will become 0.9976. Now if they had to make this question difficult for you, what would they would have done is, if you want to make the calculation lengthier, then they could have given you this question that what would be the probability that his friend would receive the gift from exactly one retailer. Would receive the gift from exactly one retailer. So the only change is what would be the probability that his friend would receive the gift from exactly one retailer. Okay, so try this question, let me know the answer in the comment box. Okay, all right, let's move on. So pause the video and try this question number 13, please. All right, let's see what we can do with this one. So in a party of 96 people, one third drink coffee, one fourth don't drink tea. In the same party, one third the number of people drinking neither of the two beverages are drinking coffee but no tea. Okay. So it's pretty confusing, and I guess you would have realized that this question will be solved with the help of Venn diagram matrix method. Right? I told you when we were discussing the basics of probability that a good question on probability does not only comprises of the concept of probability, it would comprise of concept of Venn diagram or geometry or coordinate geometry or stats and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is definitely a question on Venn diagram. Just by reading it, I could sense it that it's about coffee, no coffee, tea, no tea, right? All right, so first thing first, we'll have to make the Venn diagram. We'll have to make the matrix, sorry. Let's call it the matrix. All right. So we have coffee, we have no coffee, we have tea, and we have no tea. Then a party of 96 people, so we have a total of 96 people. One third drink coffee. So one third will be 32, 32 drink coffee, which means 64 do not drink coffee. And one fourth don't drink tea. One fourth don't drink tea. So what will be the one fourth? One fourth will be 24. 24 do not drink tea, so 72 drink tea. Okay, so in a party of 96 people, one third drink coffee and one fourth do not drink tea, so I have made use of the entire first statement. All right. In the same party, one third the number of people drinking neither of the two beverages. In the same party, one third the number of people drinking neither of the two beverages. So first of all, I need to know number of people drinking neither of the two beverages. So let's take that to be x. Okay, let's take that to be x. So this part will become x. So one third x are drinking coffee but no tea. One third x are drinking coffee but no tea. So drinking coffee but no tea. So this will become one third of x. One third the number of people drinking neither of the two beverages are drinking coffee but no tea. So this is one third of it. Alright, fine. So then I have to do x plus x by 3 is 24. 4x by 3 is 24, or x is equal to 18. So 18 and 6. So this will become 46. This here will become 26. Okay. If a non-coffee drinker is selected, so this is what I'm talking about, because basically there's 64. If a non-coffee drinker is selected, what is the probability that he or she drinks tea? So basically they're asking out of 64 how many drink tea. So that is, the probability will basically become 46 by 64. 46 by 64. And that's your answer. So again, the point is, see, again, this was not a question on probability, this was a question on Venn diagrams. And you can easily understand this considering the language of the question. Okay. All right, let's move on. All right, so pause the video and try this question, please. All right, so let's read this one. First thing is to read the question carefully. In a group of X children, 6th, 7th don't study on tablet but one third study on mobile. From this group of students, if a student studying on tablet is selected, then what can be the probability that she does not study on mobile? All right. So again, I guess you would have understood that this question is again on the concept of Venn diagrams. Okay. So again, I would be drawing the matrix. So what we have is study on tablet, no study on tablet, study on mobile, and no study on mobile. Alright, so no numbers is given to me, and it's also given to me that in a group of X children. So I have to take total to be X. So this will become X. So in a group of X children, 6th, 7th don't study on tablet. So they don't study, so this part will become 6 by 7x. Which means students who will study on tablet will become 1 by 7x. But one third study on mobile. So one third study on mobile, so this will become 1 by 3x, so this will become 2 by 3x. From this group of student, if a student studying on tablet is selected, from this group of students, if a student studying on tablet is selected, then what is the probability? Then what can be the probability? Okay, what can be the probability? Interesting question, because can gives you like options, like possibilities basically. So this is turning out to be an interesting question, very important question. So please focus on this one. Okay. So I have not given the options, but in the exam you will be having options. So I will first explain you how to do questions like this. Okay. From this group of students, if a student studying on tablet is selected, that means we are looking for these students selected. Then what can be the probability that she does not study on mobile? She does not study on mobile. So this is what we are looking for. Okay. Now this is a question of maximization and minimization. This is a question of maximization and minimization. Now there are two ways to solve questions like these. First is you do it with the help of x. That's completely your call. Like maximize and minimize in terms of x itself. Another way is you take a numerical value. Now we ought to be smart while taking the numerical value. We will not take anything out of the blue. Like we will not take 100, 200, 300 or 50, 60, 70. We have to be a bit smart. Now see, I have a fraction which has a denominator 3. I have a fraction which has a denominator of 3. And I have two fractions which have a denominator of 7. So I'm looking for a number which is multiple of both 3 and 7. Let's take it to be 42 because it's even also. You can take it to be 21 also, but I prefer taking an even number. It suits me more. So let's say this is 42 here. So 1/3 of x will become 14, 2/3 of x will become 28. 1/7 of x, remove this, 1/7 of x is become 6 and 6/7 of x will become 36. Okay, so 14, 28, 6 and 36. Now I need to do maximization and minimization. I need to know the maximum and minimum value of this block, the one that I've shaded with blue color. I want to know the maximum and the minimum value of that block. Okay, let's try and understand now. Let's start with the minimum value first of all. So let's take this minimum value to be 0 because it cannot be anything less than 0. That's not feasible, that's not possible because the number of children can't be negative. So if this becomes 0, then the block to the right of it has to automatically become 28, because sum here is 28. Because sum here is 28. If this is 28, then this will have automatically, this will have a minimum value of 8, because sum here is 36. If you're minimizing, since you minimize this one, that is study tablet and no study mobile, so the one to the right of it, you will automatically maximize it. If one is minimizing, the other has to maximize. Similarly, if no study mobile, no study tablet maximizes, then the one above it will automatically minimize, because the sum is constant, sum is 36. So the minimum value, if this is 8, then the one study mobile and study tablet will automatically become 6, the maximum value. So this suits fine, there is no problem. All values are satisfying. 6 plus 8, 14, 8 plus 28, 36, 6 plus 0, 6, 0 plus 28 is also 28. I can't have negative number of children, so minimum value of study tablet and no study mobile will be 0. If I calculate the maximum value for this, the maximum that I can go is 6, because this has a maximum value of 6, or this has a total value of 6. If this has a total value of 6, then this block, which is study tablet and no study mobile, it can't be more than 6. It has to be 6. It can't be 7. Which means the minimum value to the block on the right of it, the minimum value will become 22. The minimum value will become 22. Then I can say that the maximum value for the block just above it will be 36 minus 22, that is 14. And the minimum value to the block left of 14 will automatically become 0. So if a student is studying on tablet is selected, that means I have a total of 6 students in this case. Then what can be the probability that she does not study on mobile? So it's anywhere from 0 to 6. So I can say that the probability is 0 by 6 to 6 by 6. That is anywhere from 0 to 1. Anywhere from 0 to 1. It's an interesting question for GRE aspirants. They can give you like this question for a multiple options. And they can give you like A, B, C, D, E, 0, 0 0.1, 0 0.2, 0 0.8, 0 0.9, 1. All of them are correct. All of them are correct. They could have asked, like they could have, we can alter the question also. For example, if a student not studying on tablet is selected, then what can be the probability that he or she does not study on mobile? If a student not studying on tablet is selected, then what is the probability that he or she does not study on mobile? In that case, your probability will be anywhere from 22 by 36 to 28 by 36. So again, like you can calculate this with the help of a calculator and you can find out your answer. So again, the point is, it's not about probability, it's about Venn diagram again. It's again about the Venn diagram. All right, let's move on. All right, so draw this one, please. All right, so in this question, see again, this question is based on statistics, and the topic that we are discussing in this question is standard normal distribution curve. It's standard normal distribution curve. So I'm yet to make a video on SNDC. So I'll just quickly explain you what the curve looks like. I will not give you the detailed description of this. Once I'm done uploading that video, then you can understand exactly what is SNDC. So SNDC is a curve something like this. It's a curve drawn on a number line. The line which divides the curve into two equal parts is known as the mean value. Apart from that, you have four more lines. So this point here is known as mean plus standard deviation. This point here is known as mean plus 2 standard deviation. This point here it's known as mean minus standard deviation. And this point here it's known as mean minus 2 standard deviation. Okay, so this is how a standard SNDC is made. Every SNDC, every SNDC is made like this. Every SNDC. Okay, so if the observations are following SNDC, then no matter what the observations are, it will always be this curve, that is the bell-shaped curve. Okay, now between mean and mean plus standard deviation, 34% of the observations lie. Same thing goes for mean and mean minus standard deviation. 14% lie between mean minus 2 SD and mean minus SD, and 14% lie between mean plus SD and mean plus 2 SD. And then you have the remaining 2% on the left of mean minus 2 SD and to the right of mean plus 2 SD. For every SNDC, this is constant. This doesn't change. For every SNDC, this doesn't change. However, we'll discuss this SNDC curve in detail. Okay. Anyways, let's try and understand this question. The random variable V follows SNDC, standard normal distribution, with mean of 82. So mean is 82, which means I can say that this value here will be 82 and standard deviation is 7. So 82 and 7, this will become 89, this will become 96, and this will become 75, this will become 68. What is the probability that the random variable lies between 75 and 96? So basically I'm looking for this region, 75 to 96. So 34%, 34%, 68%, 68% and 14% is 82%. It will simply be, probability will be simply 82% divided by 100%, which is equal to 0.82, which is equal to 0.82. That is all that you have to do. So again, this question is about whether you know SNDC or no. If you know, then it's a very simple question. Alright, let's move on to the next question. So pause the video and try this question, please. Alright, so the question reads, the figure below shows a square and a regular triangle where base of a triangle and side of a square are equal. If a point is selected, then find the probability that it lies inside the square but outside the triangle. So again, a question on probability, but it has a concept of geometry. So it's a square and a regular triangle. Regular triangle basically means equilateral triangle. Whenever you talk about a regular figure, it has all sides equal and all angles equal. So it's an equilateral triangle. Okay. So you can consider the side of a square to be A units. So this will also be A. So I can say that area of a square will basically be equal to side square, which will be equal to A square, which will be equal to A square. And if I talk about area of a triangle, then we know that area of an equilateral triangle is root 3 by 4 into side square. So that is root 3 by 4 into A square. Now the question is, if a point is selected, then find the probability it lies inside the square but outside the triangle. Now this is a question in which you have to calculate the probability according to the area of the regions. So I need to calculate the area of this region, which is inside the square but outside the triangle. So I can say that area of that shaded part will be equal to a square minus root 3 a square by 4, and the probability will basically become a square 1 minus root 3 by 4 divided by area of the square, which is a square. Cancel the 2a squares, and this probability will become 4 minus root 3 divided by 4, and that's your answer. This is the probability that the point will lie inside the square but outside the triangle. Inside the square but outside the triangle. So again, a question based on comparing the areas of two geometrical figures. Alright, let's move on. So pause the video and try this question, please. Alright, let's see what we can do with this one. If the probability of raining on any given day in Jaipur is 40%, so probability that it will rain is 40%, that means it's 0.4. So probability that it will not rain will automatically become 0.6. Because either it will rain or it will not rain, there is no third thing that can happen. Okay. So if it's raining, the probability is 40%, then not raining probability will automatically be 60%. There is no question about that. What is the probability of raining on exactly 3 days in an 8-day period? What is the probability of raining exactly 3 days in an 8-day period? Now I'm not saying that, the question is not saying that it has to be continuous 3 days, it says on exactly 3 days. So what you are basically looking for is, rain, 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 then no rain, no rain, no rain, no rain, and no rain. You're looking for raining on exactly 3 days. You're looking for raining on exactly 3 days, which means for the remaining 5 days there will be no rain. Which means for the remaining 5 days there will be no rain. So isn't it like you have 8 things on a straight line? You have 8 things on a straight line, 3 hours and 5 n hours, of which 3 are same and 5 are same. Of which 3 are same and 5 are same. So first of all, first thing is I can arrange them also. I can arrange them also. I can make multiple cases. The question does not say that it has to rain on the first 3 days or the last 3 or any 3 continuous days. What I want is 3 hours and 5 n hours. That's it. So I'm basically arranging 3 hours and 5 n hours on a straight line. So arranging 8 things on a straight line, of which 3 are same and 5 are same, that is 8 factorial by 3 factorial into 5 factorial. That will be the total number of arrangements. That will be the total number of arrangements. Now if I want to calculate the probability, now I want rain on 3 days. If I want rain on 3 days, any 3 days, it will be 0.4 into 0.4 into 0.4. It doesn't matter on which day it rains. So it will be 0.4 whole cube. And for the remaining 5 days, it's no rain, no rain, no rain. So that's 0.6 into 0.6 into 0.6 into 0.6 into 0.6, basically multiplying 0.6 5 times. Because on 5 days, there is no rain. So this will be multiplied by 0.6 to the power 5. And this will give you the total probability. And they will give you the answer in this form only. Marks to marks, what they can do is they can like solve this. So you can also solve this. So this is 8 factorial by 3 factorial into 5 factorial. So this is 6 into 7 into 8 divided by 1 into 2 into 3. So this is 56 into 4 cube by 10 cube into 6 to the power 5 by 10 to the power 5. This is what we can also do. But anyways, this is the concept. You want rain on 3 days, which means no rain on 5 days. It's like you have 8 things on a straight line, of which 3 are same and 5 are same. So first of all, you can arrange them, because it does not say that it has to rain on the first 3 days. It can be any 3 days. It's like arranging 8 things, of which 3 are same and 5 are same. First arrange them, then calculate the probability. Alright, let's move on. So pause the video and try this question, please. Alright, let's try this one. So it says that 15 candies are to be divided up among 6 children so that each child receives at least 2 candies. Find the probability that any child receives 6 candies. Alright, fine. So 6 children, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Each child receives at least 2. So let's do one thing, let's give them all of them 2 candies. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 and 2. That will be a total of 12 candies. So 12 candies will be distributed like this. They have to be. There is no other option. That means we are left with 3 more candies. We are left with 3 more candies. Now, even if you give all the 3 candies, to any of the 6 children, the maximum number of candies that they can have will be 5. The maximum number of candies that they can have is 5. So is there any possibility of any child having 6 candies? No, there is no possibility, there is no case. Hence the probability is simply 0. A child marks to marks can have 5 number of candies. So there is no possibility of any child having 6 candies, which means probability is simply 0. And that's the answer. Simple question. Alright. So pause the video and try this one. Alright, so let's read this one. Bag X contains 6 red and 7 black balls. So bag X, 6 red, 7 black, and bag Y consists of 4 red and 6 black balls. One bag is selected at random, and from the selected bag, one ball is drawn. What is the probability that the ball drawn is red? Now, sometimes what happens in this case is they also give probability of selecting a bag. That probability of selecting a bag X is more than Y, or probability of selecting a bag X is 3 by 4 and that of Y it's 2 by 3 or something like that. Now in this case they haven't mentioned it, so we'll consider that the probability for both the bags is equal, that is 1 by 2. Either you can select bag 1 or bag 2. We'll consider the probability for both the bags, selection of both the bags to be 1 by 2. So first case, we'll say that selecting bag X, and a red ball from bag X. So selecting bag X will be half, and a red ball from bag X will be 6 by 13. Will be 6 by 13. Or stands for addition, we'll be selecting bag Y and a red ball from bag Y and a red ball from bag Y. So that will be half into 4 by 10. This is half taken common, 6 by 13 plus 4 by 10. So you can take the LCM, this will become half. This is 130, 60 and 52. So this will become 112. Basically your final answer is 112 divided by 260. 112 divided by 260. The problem is that this question is very easy. There's no problem with the question. That question is very easy. You all can solve it. Problem is most of you will forget this that you have to select a bag also, and you will miss out on this. Now in that case also you will get a probability of 112 by 130, which seems to be a possible probability. No denying on that part, because it's less than 1, but it's not the correct answer. It's not the correct answer because you have to take selection of bag also into consideration. And you will definitely have an option of 112 by 130. No doubt on that part. You will definitely have that option. So it's not simply selecting ball, it's about selecting bags also. Again, sometimes selection of bag, probability of selecting a bag also will be different. It may not always be 0.5 or 1 by 2. Alright, so let's try the last question for this video and for this questions on probability. So pause the video and try this question please. Alright, so it says that in the diagram above, the sides of a rectangle ABCD have the ratio AB is to BC 2 is to 1. So AB is to BC 2 is to 1. So if this is 2x, then this is x. And the circle is tangent to the three sides of rectangle as shown. If a point is chosen at random inside the rectangle, what's the probability that it does not lie inside the circle? So again, the question is based on the area. Nothing else. Okay, so I can say that if I'm going to draw something like this, let's call this point Q, let's call this point P. So I can say that PQ will be the diameter. PQ will be the diameter of the circle. PQ will be the diameter of the circle, and PQ will be equal to x. And PQ will be equal to x, which means the radius will be equal to x by 2 and area will be equal to pi x square by 4. Area of the circle will be pi x square by 4. Area of rectangle is length into breadth, which is 2x square. Now the area which lies inside the rectangle but not inside the circle, area inside rectangle but not inside circle, will be 2x square minus pi x square by 4. So you can say that your final probability, where should I write it? Okay, let me write it here itself. Your final probability will be 2x square minus pi x square by 4 divided by 2x square. So x square, x square, x square goes. This will become 8 minus pi divided by 8. And that's your answer. The probability that the point will lie inside the rectangle but not inside the circle is 8 minus pi by 8. So guys, this was more or less everything that you need to know regarding probability, the basics of probability. So we have discussed all the concepts, we have discussed different type of questions, which I hope would have helped you in clearing your basics and making you understand how to solve question on probability. So thank you so much for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos and exam related content on GRE, GMAT and SAT. And please do share the video with your friends also. And if you're looking for personalized classes, you can always connect me on WhatsApp, or you can call me on the number given, or you can mail me also. So thank you so much everyone. Keep watching and keep learning.